Only a few more weeks. This is what I would find myself saying every summer and winter as the anticipation built for the annual golf and ski trip. The Airbnb has been booked and everyone is scheduled off work. The only thing left to do now is count down the days. The golf and ski trips began in the summer of 2017. Little did I know that they would continue to occur with each passing summer and winter seasons. Each trip had always provided us something to look forward to. As the weeks of work dragged on, the upcoming adventure grew closer. Over the years, destinations have varied, but the people have always remained consistent. The first trip we took was to Vermont. The objective? Golf. My friend and I had just graduated high school. I was in the summer going to my senior year. At 17 and 18 years old, this was the first time either of us had ever traveled on our own. We really had no idea what we were doing. Wait, hotels require guests to be 25 years old at check-in? This was something we never knew, but it took lots of searching, and we had finally found a motel accommodating for our lack of seniority. 6 hours of driving later, we had arrived at a small, dilapidated building with a single sign out front illuminated by 2 overhead lamps. It read, "The Starlight Inn." This was the experience of many of our trips. Cheap and just enough to get by. Hey, it's a room. It's a bed. That was what we would say to ourselves as we sat in a room surrounded by wood paneling that reeked of cigarette smoke with bathroom faucets that leaked throughout the night. We woke up the next morning with our sights set on the golf course. We arrived at Green Mountain National in Killington, Vermont, where we were informed by the starter that 2 others will be joining our group. Great. That's the last thing 2 high school kids 400 miles away from home wanted to hear. 2 strangers will be joining them in their round of golf. Richie and Wally were their names. I will never forget the dark evergreen color of Richie's 1980s sports car as they pulled into the lot to meet us. Richie and Wally were retired gentlemen from outside the New York City area. I can't remember what they did for work, but I'm not sure I really wanted to know. One particular story I remember them telling us was their time of wagering horses at the Saratoga Raceway in New York. They talked so casually about how they threw tens of thousands of dollars on each race, and at 17 years old, that amount of money just seemed unfathomable. I will never forget that round with Richie and Wally. As we would come to learn during these trips, we never knew what to expect. One winter, our ski trip to New Hampshire was unfortunately canceled just weeks before we were scheduled to go. However, we did not let that stop us. Less than 48 hours later, a hotel had been booked, but not for somewhere in New Hampshire. The hotel was booked for Silverthorne, Colorado. Quite the departure from the East Coast, but that's a part of what makes these trips so unique: spontaneous decisions. It was my task to secure the rental car for my friend and I in Colorado. I was completely unaware that I had to put the rental car on a credit card and not a debit card. So, the wonderful $150 rental car I had found online that I booked with my debit card had to be canceled once we arrived at the Enterprise in Denver, Colorado. But luckily for us, they were able to secure us a new rental car using my friend's credit card for $800. After the whole rental car debacle, our ski trip ended up being incredible. The snow and conditions were some of the best we have ever experienced, so our spontaneous decision to fly out west had paid off. Let's just say that once I got back from that trip, I applied for a credit card. As the years went on, the trips did get better. Cheap motels turned into Airbnbs without the smell of cigarette smoke. Driving to New England turned into flights to the Rockies. Every trip brought new experiences. The more trips we had under our belt, the better we were able to plan and what to expect. We grew used to the unexpected challenges and learned how to overcome them. We went from high school kids to becoming independent young adults with each summer and winter getaway. Each trip may not have been the same physical location, but the space created by the friendship and shared experiences was tangible. The bond we had formed through all these experiences, one that we could keep going back to as though it were an actual physical place. It kept us close no matter what life threw at us. People may have moved away or gotten jobs with drastically different schedules, but the trips were always something we could rely on to bring us back together to that space. As we all go through the whirlwind of life, the trips were always something that remained steady. Now, off to Pinehurst, Carolina we go.